by Treaty United manager Tommy Barrett. Tommy, we're 3 days out from the start of the Electricity League First Division season. Travelled to Wexford in Ferrycarrig Park. The anticipation must be building in your squad at the moment.
Yeah, lads are looking forward to it. You know, pre-season can be, you know, it's not, you know, it's great, grand for lads. You know, it can be very good, and you know, there's a lot of good sessions and there's good friendlies and stuff. But you know, the boys just want to get to competitive football now.
Yeah, you mentioned the pre-season campaign. You had a very good pre-season campaign in terms of the opposition you faced. A good performance here actually against Waterford as well. But you do have certain players who maybe were in and out during pre-season. What's the update, I suppose, on the injury concerns, in particular the likes of Sean Gearns and Dean George for this week?
Yeah, Dean is struggling. He might get a fitness test. He might be okay. Sean Gearns, we'll see how he goes. He's a bit of tendonitis in his ankle. The other one since last week, Jack Lynch, is struggling. He's unlikely to make it, I'd say. And you know, who's the other one? Mark Ludden, I think, has a bit of a knock as well. So you know, we have a few that are borderline.
Yeah, you've made changes obviously to the squad, which we can talk about, but you've also added another person to your backroom team in terms of Brian O'Callaghan, a player you played with as well. What will Brian bring to you in your backroom team this year?
Yeah, look, Brian's a good coach. We lost Mike, and Mike McCarthy's a really good coach, and he was doing a bit of psychology as well with the lads, sports psychology, because he's a master's in that, and you know, Mike is the last in that regard, and the coaching, and you know, he's big boots to fill. But Brian has come in, he's hit the ground running, and he's been fantastic with the lads so far. You know, he's taken a lot of the sessions and a lot of the exercises, and they've been very good. You know, he's experienced from a player, helped in that way, in that regard. You know, he's going after his A licence now soon, but he knows what players like and what players want, and he keeps it simple. So that's all I'm looking for, you know, and he's picked that up very quick. And he's keeping it enjoyable. So you know, the lads have been great. Mick has been great in that sense as well, and obviously Dave, my assistant, has been brilliant too.
Yeah, you mentioned in other interviews earlier, Tommy, that you've suffered losses. Obviously, one of the big losses you suffered was Ty Ryan, considering how well he played last year. He's gone on to Bohemians. Jack Brady comes back in. He was an understudy effectively to 2 goalkeepers in Shelbourne. He'll be desperate now to play. You also have Enda Curran, who looks sharp and looks like he's desperate to give another go at League of Ireland level. You have Lee Devitt as well. You had a hungry squad last year. Was it important that you signed players who built on that mantra as well of the hunger to play?
Yeah, I think it is. You know, I didn't mention Jack and Lee earlier because I suppose I had them in the past, you know, so they're not brand new to me. But you know, look, it's good that, you know, we got these lads in. It freshens things up, albeit, you know, we didn't want to lose the lads that we lost, but it's an opportunity now for the likes of Lee and Jack, you know, to come in. And obviously we got young Colin Conroy in as well, and Jack Gara. Am I missing out on anyone? It's Conor Wynn. So you know, we're happy enough. Joe Gorman, obviously. So we're happy enough with we're happy with the replacements we got. Albeit, you know, some of the lads, you know, it's hard to replace, as we say, that physicality, and you know, the likes of Clyde and Sean McSweeney, 2 left-sided, you know, technically good players and physically strong. And Ant O'Donnell, like Ant last year, got 5 goals from set play. I'm not sure many centre backs in the league got that. You know, I'd say he was the highest scoring centre back. So you know, that's a loss as well. Like,
you've added as well, Tommy, would say, as I said, you've added a lot of we'll say experience to the squad as well. You have Joe Gorman in there as well. But Wexford have also done that, as we've seen, particularly in their forward line. You know, they've added 3 new forwards. They have Conor Barry coming in there as well. I was speaking to people in Wexford. There is a lot of optimism there at the minute. We'll say Wexford finished bottom last year. Do you think that it is difficult, obviously, in the Electricity League to jump up 4 and 5 positions, but do you think that they can do that with the squad they've built?
Well, it's assigned the players to do so anyway, certainly, you know, but it all depends how they play, how the group forms, how they get on. You know, like at the end of the day, it's always difficult to call. You don't know. There's very little between the teams and in the games. You can't see anyone hammer anyone. You know, certainly not early anyway. But the full-time teams, you'd imagine, you know, have that advantage. Like, for example, I think we play the 3 full-time teams in a week. in April, so that's going to be difficult for us, as we said earlier. You know, and hopefully we can hang on in there. And you know, I think Wexford will find that difficult to would like to against them full-time teams as well. But they certainly have increased their firepower, and they should, I think, definitely finish above bottom. But then who finishes bottom? You know, so it's hard to call.
Two players of interest actually in the 3D squad that I had meant to ask you about was Joel Custrain and Conor Melody. Both have looked quite sharp. They've been involved in nearly every pre-season game, as far as I'm aware anyway, Tommy. Particularly, I suppose, with Melody, if you like a new signing to you, I suppose, and you'll really hope that he'll hit the ground running. And as well with Joel, who probably suffered a bit out of form last year, you'll be hoping for a big season for him too.
Yeah, I think Conor Melody, you know, he was injured a lot last year, you know, and he didn't get too much game time. I'm not sure about Joel being out of form. I thought he was really good for a lot of the season. You know, he played nearly every week in a team that finished fourth in the league. So I think that's, you know, it wouldn't be my assessment of him. I thought he played very well. I thought he was unlucky with injury. You know, but when he played, particularly the mid part of the season when we won 5 or 6 games in a row at one stage, or 4 or 5 anyway, he was certainly instrumental, and he got injured down at Cove after that, and it did take him a time to get back. But when he did come back, you know, he got another couple of injuries, and when he came on, I think he really made a real impact in the games that he came on, particularly in the last game up in UCD. I thought he was fantastic. The front three were really good that night, so I think it was more down to injuries than a loss of form. You know, if anything, you know, Joel, you know, he's a great lad, and I think the injuries affected him. I think, you know, that can affect confidence sometimes as well. And there was a couple of matches where you might say, oh, he wasn't right because he was coming back from injury, but I think that was only it. You know, I think in general he had a really good season, to be honest.
Yeah, I know that you have said in previous interviews that you're going to be going on the mantra that you set, which is going to be week by week. You're not going to set targets. I suppose you will accept that expectations among supporters may have risen from the fact that you reached the playoffs last season. I know that it's going to be difficult to repeat that feat, but what would be your own assessment on where your squad is at in respect to a playoff push this year?
Yeah, we're not focusing on it, Adrian, you're right. You know, we're focusing on Wexford because, you know, I think if you start focusing on, if you start focusing on the playoffs, you know, you lose focus, essentially. You lose focus on the next game, so you can't focus on the playoffs or winning a league if you're thinking like that, because anything can happen. Injuries can happen, you lose games, you draw games. You know, if you set those type of targets, it deflates, and the players, if they lose a game or two, and then they lack motivation. So for me, it's about being motivated for the next game.